Finally, the gloves are coming off. This movie, this movie was ridiculous.
And by any means of the word, it wasn't bad, but it sucked.
For anybody who really likes the X-Men, you are going to find this thing completely tearing into everything. Apocalypse himself, he reminds me of Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy, which in itself was a really good movie, but Ronan was he wasn't a good villain.
No.
And I can't think of Apocalypse without not thinking about Ronan, which is not a good thing. That he was unimposing, he was completely stupid in his plans by just sending all the nukes up into space.
Yeah, this is the part we were talking about when we said that this would have been great as a two-part movie. The first movie would have been kind of setting up more of Apocalypse and the younger X-Men, maybe seeing them a bit more in action before they all come together. Because honestly, if you think about it, Cyclops comes in basically because his brother Havoc, who's in the movie for 10 minutes.
He gets killed off.
Yeah, it's stupid. But pretty much, Cyclops comes in, and his brother brings him in once they've discovered his powers and what they do.
He is the only... let me think about that. Besides, he is the only guy only new character in this entire movie, out of like all the X-Men, out of all the new evil villains, that actually gets some form of origin. You may argue that Storm gets that whole like market scene to herself, but that really isn't much of anything.
No, it doesn't even...
She talks about how she wants to be like Mystique, but...
And then she joins Apocalypse.
Yeah, which is obviously a pretty evil dude. Mystique is seen as like a hero to a lot of people, and she joins...
Even to non-mutants, it's like, okay, you want to be like Mystique, and then you're going to go with the guy who's... He tells them repeatedly he's going to destroy the weak and make the strong stronger. And so it's like...
And then he teams up with Angel.
Yeah.
Pause for effect.
So, and this is what we were saying. If they had done that and then made it so that the next movie... Because if they'd done that, I feel like it would have increased Apocalypse's kind of...
Have they actually had the nukes drop, and it was only, seriously, the strongest mutants that survived, and then they had gone to the next movie with like this real fight against Apocalypse, that would have been awesome. What was it you said? Had Charles Xavier actually died?
Yeah, could you imagine what that would have been like? Because how Apocalypse actually ends up launching all the nukes into space and then makes them fly away to nowhere is Charles Xavier is using Cerebro to try and find mutants, the ones that are closer to Apocalypse.
No, he's trying to find Magneto. He's trying to find Magneto because...
Oh, yeah, but it was the same thing.
He had heard what happened because Magneto's family gets killed, which, as we said, he's like the only character that actually really gets something.
He actually tries to take Charles Xavier's thing.
That was probably like my favorite part, the beginning. As we said, it was monotonous, but at least his parts, as we said, Michael Fassbender, he is a really good actor, and what happens to him? He actually tries. He falls in love with a non-mutant. He and she have a daughter.
Who turns into be a mutant.
Who I guess is supposed to be Scarlet Witch. And, of course, she and his daughter, they both get killed.
The local police come at him with wooden bows and arrows.
See, they got the idea. How did nobody else do this?
And then his daughter, tries to make it so that her dad doesn't leave.
Well, no, she's scared, so they're in this forest, which was kind of a bad idea, I'm guessing. They knew these were mutants. They're in this forest, and they're taking away Magneto, and she's all scared.
And he's willing to come, and he's coming willingly.
Yeah, he's coming peacefully. And all of these crows are just circling, trying to kill him, and he sends that arrow through, I think he loses his grip. The soldier, he gets scared, he loses his grip, and it's like double kill. The mom's holding the daughter, and it just goes right in between them. And he, of course, takes his daughter's locket, angry, kills everyone.
I feel really... You actually feel sad for Magneto.
I'm like, no wonder he wants to hurt people. This always happens. He's not lying when he says they always take things away from him. The Nazis took away his mom in the second one. He's probably still really butthurt in the second movie. Then he tries to become better by the third one, and then they kill his wife. Not only that, and then they also kill his daughter.
It wasn't on purpose, but it's like, poor guy.
Well, they were taking him away. What was it? One of the other guys that he was working with was nearly killed, and he saves him. And because of that, oh man, this is Magneto. We should probably tell the cops. Matter that he's been around here for 10 years, around that much time.
Yeah. You understand it because he did a lot of bad stuff, but it's like, honestly, he's been a good guy, good employee, and as he's talking with the cops, you can hear them say, guys, I've been with you for 10 years.
And they even seem kind of like distressed about bringing him because they obviously like him, but he did do all this bad stuff, so of course you take him in. He was going to come willingly, then the daughter got upset, and
then he kills him off with the throat with the locket.
So he is like the only character that anything that he's doing actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
as we said, Cyclops too, because after Apocalypse uses Charles Xavier to launch all the nukes, he actually comes into the X-Men mansion.
Not a sponsor.
Well, yeah, the shelter beneath it. He levitates Xavier to him, and then Havoc launches an energy blast at them, which destroys the jet that they use, because it's like
it was the one that Hank was building.
It's like a one-movie jet thing.
He builds the whole movie, the whole of Xavier's manor just gets destroyed. And this is like probably my only other favorite part of the movie. It's always got to be when Quicksilver comes in there. He just goes around, he saves everyone, as he puts it. Besides Havoc. He goes around, he saves everybody. And, I'd say it's only like, a few minutes?
If you liked the scene from the first movie,
there's way more stuff that he does in this scene, though.
Yeah, but if you like that one, you definitely like this one.
Yeah. If you like it that time, you'll like it this time.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I really just want to tear into these individual characters really quickly. So Cyclops first, we've already kind of talked about him. He's like the only new guy that gets any semblance of like a backstory. He's in school. His eyes are hurting really bad. They make him sound like he's some sort of troublemaker, because that's what the teacher says, right? Is that after you're done with that, go to the principal's office. I'm pretty sure you know the way.
Yeah. And
then he goes into the bathroom. A bully who he thinks that he's like eyeing his girlfriend.
It's a football player, which is stereotypical.
Oh man! It also kind of pokes a hole in this. He is able to blow the door of the restroom stalls off his hinges, and it doesn't. The laser from his eyes doesn't go through the door, and it doesn't injure the guy. But when he goes to Xavier's mansion to get enrolled into school, he burns a hole completely through the ground in between this huge tree, and it just falls over completely in half.
And you know why they did that, Reaver? Because the plot doesn't want him to be a killer.
There's like way for incongruity. There's like he doesn't burn through this door, but he can burn through everything else.
And it's a big tree. It's not like one of them small dinky ones.
I was talking about him and Jean Grey. There is no passion or chemistry between them.
I saw more passion in the scene between her and Wolverine.
I know, like in that one cameo of her giving Wolverine his thoughts back.
Some memories to help him get back to normal.
To help guide him. There is more chemistry between those two, and she is like a teenager, and he's like in his 40s.
Kind of creepy if you think about it.
Yeah, but there's more chemistry between those two than there was in that entire whole setup between him and Jean Grey, Cyclops. It's just like he was a bit of a jerk at the beginning.
This is pretty much how it boils down to. He's a bit of a bully at the beginning, and then Jean Grey sees that he has powers, and she's like, "Oh, hey,
ooh, he can't control his powers, kind of like me." And then he gets super cool sunglasses that can help him refract everything, and then they become like fast friends and something more. So now let's go into Angel.
Poor guy. Like his character in the movies it's sad.
This is like the least favorite, right?
When he's in the first movie he's in, which is X-Men 3: The Last Stand, the whole reason they had the reboot, pretty much, is he's there for 10 minutes. It shows the scene where he's a kid and he's trying to get rid of the wings on his back. And then it shows the scene where he's going in there. At first he's going to get cured. And then he leaves, and then he doesn't even fight in the last scene. He just kind of.
It's like they put him in because of he was like a necessary. Because I do believe he was one of the original X-Men, and then they put him in this movie. It kind of messes up the whole thing chronologically. Because I know Days of Future Past, sure,
it reset
everything, yeah. But by this time, this is 10 years after. He's a young man. I'm gonna guess he's in that maybe 18 to 20 years old. That would mean he was born before the events of X-Men Days of Future Past. So he was born before...
First Class, probably.
No, he was born before Days of Future Past, meaning that him as a character was on track to the original movies. So that would make him, by the time the movies were set place, like The Last Stand, that was in the early 2000s. So he's like a young man in those movies. But at the chronological time he was being born here, that would make him be in his later 40s, right?
Yeah, and in case
50s, no. 40s.
And in case you're wondering, well, maybe, the Last Stand, takes place earlier than that. Xavier and Magneto are old men in those movies. So.
And they're supposed to be older men. This is like 20 years after X-Men First Class, and they look exactly the same.
Okay, no, they do look a little older, but it's like a 10-year difference, not a 20.
Yeah. Alright. Psylocke. She, if you don't know her, she's the one with the energy beam coming out of her arm. I know she's supposed to be, wasn't she still one of the more main villains of the X-Men, but I think a decent enough actor, but she gets next to no screen time.
The only way she actually plays any major part is she helps guide Apocalypse to Angel, which should not be a screaming resume. All that really does, and that's all she does. So then she fights in the battle, gets her butt kicked.
They don't give her any credit. They hardly use her, and they give her really no good reason as to why she would want to join the Apocalypse. It's like, oh yeah, I'll give you more power. And I mean, if a random dude were to walk in on something that we had pretty good going on, she was working with this other guy, apparently second in command, and then just said, oh, I can give you more power.
She was protection for a guy who runs a smuggling thing where he
it's like a mutant railroad.
Yeah, a mutant railroad. He smuggles mutants out of the country, not sure where they are, but he pretty much smuggles them and gets paid well for it, and she was like his bodyguard.
They just don't give her too much credit.
Nah.
Now there's Jubilee, right?
Jubilee. That's about all I got to say on her. She comes,
nothing.
She kind of hangs out with the mini group that they have going on.
She probably has only a few, she has you're probably counting the amount of lives she has on just your hands, 2 hands. It's ridiculous.
And she pretty much plays no major role.
Alright, this is a character I really want to tear into, which is, it's Wolverine. As we said, he is a Deus Ex Machina in its purest form.
Yeah. So, in this one, they've done the Weapon X experiments where he gets all of his adamantium,
Which, by the way, they don't even explain how it is that Mystique was able to get a hold of him, because this is the real Stryker here. If
you watch Days of Future Past, that scene where they get him out of the water, it's Mystique that gets him out, because they do the whole orange eyes thing, which reveals it's Mystique. And it's like...
I thought I was going to save him, and then he just ends up back there. Real Stryker and everything.
Yeah, and so the reason why he's at this place is because Stryker comes when the nukes are launched and wants to figure out why they were launched. So they knock out all the mutants. They grab... They grab
Mystique, they grab... and then they only grab...
then they grab Beast and...
and McTaggart. Those are the only 2 they grab.
They grab them because he knows from Days of Future Past.
And then it's just Nightcrawler and then Jean Grey and Cyclops that just teleport onto that thing, onto the helicopter with them. And he shows up, Wolverine, as Weapon X. He has his adamantium claws and everything like that, and they never explain how it is that Mystique, helps him at all. But it's the way they find them. It's the way they find him that really annoys me. So after they make it into the entire facility, their big plan is to destroy the generator. And the stupid thing is that when they go in there, he is right there next to the generator. He doesn't have his own cell somewhere like far off in like the facility. He's just right there next to the generator, and they're able to free him. That is so ridiculous. He doesn't get his own cell. He's right there next to the generator.
It's like, did we not have a prison? I agree with you, because it's just like, really? That wasn't asking for trouble. And then you learn later he was also by where they keep all the blood storages.
It just makes no sense. It's like they keep all their most valuable items in one spot. The generator,
Sir,
Wolverine,
do you want us to...
and the blood samples.
Do you want us to be smart and spread these all over the place? Are you kidding me? No, that makes my life more difficult, because at least this way I can stay in the same room and look over the different things. No, this could never backfire.
It's just, I think a better way to have done this would have been like, they had to go into like a lower levels, which was also like the prison area to like get to the generator. But, and then
Wolverine in his rage, because he actually kills a lot of guys in here.
Yeah,
It's not rated R violence, but you know,
he slashes people and
you see blood spatter the walls and everything. It's actually one of the cooler scenes besides Quicksilver's. And it would have been more realistic if they'd gone through and made it so that he cleared a way around the generator. I could have bought that.
Well, no, I thought like a better way to do it would have been like, you know, they find him on the way to the generator, they unlock his cell, and he's what draws them all off as they go, and then, you know, they destroy the generator. They help him like the way Jean Grey does, and then, you know, they help their friends. But I think all in all, the way they used Wolverine was pretty well done. It's just...
I'm glad he wasn't the main guy like he's always
been.
It was nice to have a mini cameo.
Because the whole point of these films is to be set around like the younger versions of the X-Men.
You mean Mystique and the rest of the younger X-Men?
Yeah, Mystique and the other X-Men. Anyway. Charles Xavier. I think we went over this. I think the whole main reason they made this movie was to explain how Charles Xavier gets bald.
Pretty much. So, one thing you learn about Apocalypse is that when he's getting close to dying, or if he wants to, he can take over the body of somebody else. And when he does this, if they're a mutant, if I had to guess, it had to be mutants. But if it's a mutant that he doesn't have the powers to, when he takes over the body, it gets added to it.
So basically he has a whole set of powers, and it's not how it works in the comics. He's supposed to start off as this all-powerful mutant from the get-go, like born gray or something like that, in Egypt. But in the way that they describe it here, he's been around forever.
Pretty much. They make it allegories to him being, you know, pretty much make him being Jesus. All the big religious icons, like all the gods, they were based on him, pretty much.
Yeah. Anyway. But Charles Xavier that's the way he loses his hair, supposedly.
They're performing the ritual, and because Apocalypse is bald, the hair comes off when the ritual is going underway, and it's just like, you look kind of stupid bald.
Yeah, and I find this all too much as we're going into these movies, is that after each of these movies, you can always poke more and more holes into Charles Xavier's hope for, like, you know, mutant and regular human, just like correlation.
And then
especially with what Magneto did.
Yeah.
There's no way that all of these humans are just going to look at this and go, oh, well, we can still be friends, right? You know, just one of you was able to tear apart our world.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, honestly, this isn't really building into the... Like, I'm honestly surprised they haven't... Like, if this movie had happened and then they went into, like, the whole plot for Days of Future Past and the Sentinels, I'd actually buy that. I would really buy that after what happened in this movie.
These are two I just really don't like this. And this is prevalent throughout all the movies. That is that Magneto and Mystique learn the exact same thing every single time. Mystique is always learning that she needs that she needs to be herself, because she's, even in this movie, she starts off as, you know, blonde Jennifer Lawrence, and
like
she's like afraid to be herself.
In the first movie, she pretty much learns this when she goes off with Magneto, and she's like, he's gonna be what helps us, you know, become understood, or not understood, but he's gonna make it so we don't have to hide ourselves. And then in the second movie, what do you see?
She's doing the exact same thing, and then she learns the thing of that movie. Well, I need to be more myself.
Because she becomes this big hero, and it's like, I can be who I want to be. The way they explain her hiding in this movie is more along the lines of everybody knows her from her blue skin, and all the mutants are pretty much seeing her as their hero because. And
she just doesn't really like that, I guess.
Yeah,
she likes to work alone.
Doesn't like being recognized, and that's why she hides.
But then again, at the end of this movie, she learns, we just need to be ourselves. And they walked right out of the plane, and she turns to them, he's like, let loose, be yourself, and she's like, turns into them like, oh my gosh, it's the exact same thing you've been learning through all these movies. And the same is with Magneto. At least he starts off a bit, different at the beginning of this one. He's always learning that he isn't this weapon, this evil being.
There's good inside of you.
Yeah. And
you're a good guy.
It's like these two just don't get this. It's like they need to constantly be told the same exact thing to be
gets kind of boring
out of their problems. It's like they're Deus Ex Machina. Oh, well, I'm not a villain. Oh, I should be myself. And then that's what makes them better, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous, and it's just become a trope of the series. So we've already kind of talked about everybody. One of the last things we really wanted to tear into was just this whole battle with Apocalypse.
You mean the street fight?
Street fight. I wouldn't even call it a street fight. That might even be giving it, some credit.
Pretty much.
There is no fight.
The way this ends is Apocalypse, because he takes over other mutants' powers, when he figures out what Xavier can do, he wants that power for himself because it's something he can't do. And that's why he starts performing the ritual. Well, the ritual fails because Nightcrawler ends up finding Charles, grabs him and gets him out of the building, the massive temple that Apocalypse builds. So when he does that, he escapes, and this entire time his 4 horsemen, or 4 guys I conveniently found, are fighting the X-Men group, which is pretty much Beast, Mystique, pretty much most of the good guys besides Jubilee, and most of the new guys. And it's funny because during this fight, it's not much of a fight. I mean, the only real action you see is between Psylocke and Beast. They kind of fight.
Beast is just a discount Hulk.
Yeah, they pretty much make him into a discount Hulk in this movie. He fights some, but it's just like, what do you got on your side, dude? You're barely stronger than the average dude. Did you notice that? He struggles to lift all the heavy stuff.
No, he struggles to lift the car, but just the fight with Apocalypse himself, as I said, it's not a fight. He just absorbs everything that the X-Men are just throwing down on him. I really thought it was picking up when, Charles Xavier's like, this is my house. He just starts beating the crap out of Apocalypse. I was like, oh, that was awesome. And he's like, oh, you're going to need a bigger house. He's grows. It's just bam.
They're having a battle inside their head because when they were performing the ritual, Charles Xavier, there's a little mini connection there that he goes back into to try and help them.
And then instead of just crushing him or just finally ending it all, he just does what every other cliche supervillain does, which is just talk to him. He's like, oh, you're not going to win. I'm more powerful than you are. And then that allows Jean Grey to come in as the Phoenix.
Ex.
Yeah, Deus Ex, the Phoenix.
There's a lot of those in this movie.
Just burns away Apocalypse.
So yeah, she learns to kind of embrace the Phoenix side of her, which, I don't mind. It was kind of okay. I mean, it's not like they did in the original. But it literally takes, up to that point, Quicksilver is kind of out of the action because...
So is Nightcrawler, because he gets knocked out.
Yeah, and then Quicksilver gets his leg broken and everything. Mystique can't do jack against Apocalypse.
She's being choked, right?
Beast can't do jack against Apocalypse. So you have Magneto turns into the good guy at this point, and is trying to use his powers by flinging metal at Apocalypse. And then you have Storm's turned good too, and she's trying to blast him. And then you have and then Cyclops has his glasses off, and he's just trying to burn at...
It's just basically eye candy. There's nothing about this battle. And then Jean Grey just comes in and is just burns
him away with the Phoenix.
The supposed all-powerful mutant And then she just comes in, this teenager who hasn't even, I'm going to guess, fully unlocked her powers, just the end. And it's just really annoying because Apocalypse is supposed to be
the be-all, end-all.
Yeah, he's like the main enemy of the X-Men. And they're turning it around. They're working backwards. This is supposed to be like their last fight is Apocalypse. But now that Apocalypse is gone, as we were stating, it's just, you can't really go from that. How do you like go with what should be your crescendo and then continue on? I've heard it like excuses like in like the end credits, like after the credits, there was like SX Corp, which is supposed to be by Mr. Sinister, and then the only other good options I've heard are just only one, House of M, which is when Magneto brings like all the mutants onto an island to try and live together.
But this is something I forgot. There's actually 2 scenes in this movie that show that they might eventually try to do a Phoenix thing. Because there's a scene when they're in the mansion where Charles Xavier has to come into the room and help Jean Grey because her power's getting out of control and she's having this dream. It's shortly after Apocalypse Awakens, if I remember correctly, where she sees like the world on fire and everything. And then while they're doing that, and then when they're having the battle at the end where Apocalypse sees Jean Grey in her kind of Phoenix form, he says something along the lines of "It's not over," or this.
That's what makes me think. Psylocke just sort of like walks off, kind of all angry. It makes me wonder if they're going to somehow bring Apocalypse back, and if they do,
or they're trying
to do it in the form of
the big bad guy. Or
just don't do it at all, please.
Or what they're going to try and do is do another Phoenix timeline, which I feel after the original X-Men, they'd have to do really well, because I wasn't too big into that.
Days of Future Past and First Class were really good movies, but this
they make a joke in They make a joke in there because they all walk.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
They all walk off after seeing Return of the Jedi. That's the movie they go see when they break out of the mansion for some free time. They go and see that movie, and Jean Grey makes a subtle hint like, yeah, everybody knows that the last movie in the series, in the trilogy, is always bad. And they
fourth wall, because they're referring to
Days of Future Past.
No,
not Days.
They're referring to Last Stand. Yeah, they're referring to Last Stand. They're saying how that was the worst movie in the trilogy. and now, it's like thinking of this one, this is kind of the worst.
This is the worst. It's not kind of. It is the worst.
It is the worst, though, man.
So there's your comedy.
There's just not really much more else to say. I mean, everything that you could talk about, we've talked about. It just sort of falls through the cracks. I mean, I don't get the people who are saying that this is the best X movie. Obviously, those people haven't read the comics, because you know that Apocalypse is supposed to be the main villain.
About it.
They're supposed to be the main villain.
The only good part about this movie, is the brief cameo of Wolverine, which again I like that they kept it small.
If you're going to see this movie, the only reasons I would say you would want to watch this movie is because of Quicksilver, Wolverine, and because of Michael Fassbender's performance, because he is a very good actor. And
although, yeah,
what's else to say?
There is a funny scene where Quicksilver actually is taking on Apocalypse.
Yeah, he is kicking his butt. He's like, boom, boom.
He's got time speeding up really fast, and he's punching Apocalypse back and forth, kicking him, and then Apocalypse just like does something where
he like melts his foot to the ground. He's like, whoosh. That's what breaks it. But anyway, tell us what you guys think about this movie, and were there some things that you found really dumb? Was there anything that we left out that you think that we should have added in?
I mean, if you thought that this was the greatest movie in the world, we're sorry.
Oh man, you haven't seen too many movies, have you? All right, anything else to add?
Yeah,
I guess not. Have a good day, Yummians. Hopefully, the next movie will be a lot better than this.
Yeah. So about my raise, can I actually get paid?
No.